right, we are going live here. Gonna just wait a quick minute or two. If you are watching this after 11:30, I would definitely recommend skipping ahead about 2 minutes. There we go. Testing. Okay. All right, folks, as we're coming up on 11:30, we'll be going live exactly, just getting all set up here. How we doing, everybody? How we doing? Basilios, what's good? Abdi, what's good? Liam, what's good? Glad to see some folks joining in. A very eventful day. Going to be getting started here in another couple of minutes. Okay. Kelly, we are definitely excited for some football. Very, very eventful day. Waiting for a couple more here. At 11:30, we will be breaking it down. One more minute. COVID-19 absolutely sucks. Indeed. All right, 11:30, we are going live here today. It was quite the eventful day. Obviously, Lamar Jackson does not come out. And then the rumors start to rumble. Oh, is he getting a new contract situation? Is he going to be announcing a brand new contract? Sorry about that. And announcing a brand new contract. No, he actually had a positive COVID test, which we now know the Ravens were careful with the verbiage at first and trying to see what they could do. It appears that Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards will likely be going on a 10-day stint of isolation and quarantine following some positive tests there. The Ravens do have a 90% vaccination rate or above, according to all reports, and Ryan Mink yesterday getting that out there. But so no Lamar for the first bit of camp. It is definitely an unfortunate situation, but there are silver linings. Obviously, Trace McSorley will have an opportunity to get some first-team reps. Tyler Huntley will have an opportunity to get some first-team reps in as well, and it is going to be beneficial that way. And I would say one of the biggest stories of the day was that Trace McSorley, Trace Unitas, McSizzle Unitas, as the people call him, was sharp as a tack, man. The offense was buzzing, so the Ravens come out. They break into some divisional or some positional drills, and they're just going through some installs, some footwork. Receivers are working. Offensive linemen are working against some hand pads. The defense is working on just underfronts, overfronts, alignments against trash cans, and with Rob Ryan, who had a great big belly barking out some sit it, Bob Wiley. So that was good to see. Rob Ryan definitely very assertive on the practice field, and it was good to see the Ravens out there stretching, getting ready. They come out in helmets. It looks like it might be a bit of a unique situation, coming out in helmets, no Lamar, what's going on here? And it might have been the absolute antithesis of that. Once it got rolling, there was a ton of action. The Ravens came out into some 11-on-11 drills. The starting offense looked something like Andre Smith at left guard, Bradley Bozeman at center, Tyree Phillips at left guard, Zeitler at right guard, Alejandro Villanueva at right tackle, and there was also Mark Andrews, obviously, Rashad Bateman, Sammy Watkins, Marquise Brown, and J.K. Dobbins. Got Justice Hill getting some reps as well. Trace McSorley, Tyler Huntley swinging things out. The base defense was all veterans. It was Pernell McPhee and Tyus Bowser on the outside, Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, Derek Wolfe, as expected. Then Patrick Queen and Malik Harrison taking first-team reps alongside Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, Deshaun Elliott, and Chuck Clark. So there was the 22 starters there. I have posted the wrong link by accident, and now people keep trying to join the studio, so pardon me for being a little distracted at times. But it was slow start, absolutely. Then it turned into cooking with gas. McSorley was super sharp. The Ravens worked under center first in 11 on 11s, and there was a good bit of rollouts, a good bit of boots, a good bit of running some leads, some ISO, some things like that. And again, these guys aren't in pads. They don't have shoulder pads on. They're not in full pads. So it's limited contact, engaging a little bit. You don't want guys to get hurt, but ultimately McSorley was really sharp. Huntley had some good throws as well. Huntley was taking a little bit too long to get the ball out at times. And as Vasilius is saying, Kenji Bahara was there as well. Calvert Hall quarterback, Monmouth quarterback, actually played with my girlfriend's brother at Monmouth. So I've watched a good bit of Kenji Bahara live. He's got a little bit of a live arm. He's a mobile guy to a degree. So they brought him in. Now they'll have 3 quarterbacks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them bring in a 4th until Lamar comes back. So that would definitely be something to consider. But I would say that the star of the show today was certainly Marquise Brown. He smoked Devontae Harris on a double move down the sideline. It was not necessarily a double move, just a little bit of gave him a little stutter, a little jab step, and then took off for a 75-yard touchdown. Dropped right in the bucket, I believe, by McSorley. And then Marquise Brown reeled in another deep catch. He had a toe tap against Marcus Peters on a speed out where he got Marcus Peters flat-footed and was all over the field all practice. I don't think he had anything hit off of his hands. Vasilio saying he heard Prochet look crisp today. Prochet did look crisp. I think he had at least 1 drop. He also had a deep reception behind Shaun Wade. Shaun Wade struggled a good bit. The Ravens were playing him at outside corner. It's day 1. They're not playing with contact. Wade's a rookie, so everyone's like, oh, well, why are they playing him at outside? All right, it's day 1. They're getting guys reps, seeing what it's like. And ultimately, it was, a tough day for him a little bit. I think Jimmy Smith got beat as well. Rashad Bateman had a fine day. Nothing too crazy. Chris Westry had some really tight coverage. There was an underthrown ball in a one-on-one downfield, probably about 30, 35 yards downfield to Bateman, and Westry, the ball was slightly underthrown. Westry was right there in his hip pocket, able to break up the pass, and Westry had a couple of pass breakups today. I thought he played well. I think he had a pass interference at one point, maybe on Miles Boykin as well. Then the Ravens offense transitioned into 7-on-7. Well, I guess the Ravens transitioned to 7-on-7s. Miles Boykin had a couple of catches over the middle. Josh Oliver was getting reps from 12 personnel at the, as the second tight end. And he had a really nice catch over Brandon Stevens down the middle of the field. Trace McSorley, Trace Unitas, McSizzle Unitas, whatever you want to call him. He put up a great alley-oop, high sky ball where only Josh Oliver could go get it. Oliver had to be at least 20, 25 inches off the ground and was able to snare it over Brandon Stevens. It wasn't like Brandon Stevens did anything wrong. It was just a tight end going up and making a great play. Stevens looked all right. He got some reps all around. Tylan Wallace, I don't think had a ton of action. He caught some balls here and there. Nothing crazy to write home about. Jalen Moore, who received a ton of buzz from, I think, the receivers coaches, Marlon Humphrey. I think he got mentioned quite a few times throughout OTAs. So he had a pretty successful day, I'd say. Wrote in a couple passes. Devin Duvernay made quite a bit of plays. He was working a lot of boundary and working on a lot of sideline, perimeter routes. He also turned Shaun Wade around, and then on a little kind of comeback type route, might have been a hitch, might have been a comeback. He broke towards the sidelines, probably a comeback, and was able to secure a little toe tap. He had a pretty decent day as well, for sure. He was working all over the field. He kind of gets labeled into the slot, but last year he did play about a 50-50 snap share in terms of on the boundary versus in the slot. So look for Devin Duvernay to be involved in all aspects of the offense. Sammy Watkins battled with Marlon Humphrey a little bit. He was calling for a pass interference at one point. It looked pretty clean to me. Watkins had a couple catches. Bateman had a couple catches. There was nothing too crazy out of either of them. Deion Kane got very, very, very frustrated where he had a step down the sideline on a go route and let out a big F-bomb after the ball floated out of bounds out of his reach, and he was quite upset. There was a couple drops, nothing too crazy, but Deshaun Elliott looked really solid from what I saw in coverage. He was in the right spot. Felt like he was in control very much. So some people were kind of commenting on pass rush and things like they didn't have any pads on. So that is what it is. It appeared to me that Trace McSorley got the ball out much quicker than Tyler Huntley was. Huntley made some plays for sure. It looked like, day one, Trace McSorley looked pretty sharp. Huntley was doing his best Lamar Jackson impressions, buying time, rolling out, putting some moves on in the open field. But I thought that Trace definitely looked pretty sharp. So I'm excited to see how that continues to pan out in the absence of Lamar Jackson. I would say that Lamar Jackson missing time is pretty unfortunate in terms of if the Ravens are going to be doing a lot of install with under center formations and snaps and alignments and things like that. You want him to be able to get that footwork in, walk through it, run through it, do it live, all that good stuff. So that is where they're going to be missing out. Ben Mason kind of reminds me of myself in flag football. He was in the backfield a little bit. He was playing some tight end. I saw him make one reception on a kind of a flat route, and he has kind of my strategy as an open field runner. I would say when I was playing some intramural flag football, my Towson University days, where he catches the ball and he just wants to get as north as he can, as quickly as he can, and gain as much ground. So, nothing crazy to write home about with Ben Mason. He had one little catch in the flat, but J.K. Dobbins definitely flashed as a pass catcher. And to me, something I've been adamant about is that Nico, Ben Mason was at tight end and fullback. He was moving around. Mark Andrews plays fullback. You've got Josh Oliver is going to be in the slot playing tight end. They move everybody all around. So Ben Mason's going to be doing both. He's listed as a tight end. He's going to be kind of that wing to H-back role, it feels like, but he was moving around, running some flat routes. I don't think he ran anything too deep that I recall. Tony Poljan had a really nice reception, I believe, in 7-on-7s. He looks like a pretty traditional tight end in a good way. He knows angles and he knows he's got a big body, so he can kind of wall off and make some catches. He's a guy to watch out for overall. But it was really nice to see Andre Smith getting some reps. Obviously, Ronnie Stanley's not quite ready yet, so he filled in at left tackle. Feels like that's going to be the situation to start. A veteran who has a ton of experience. Him and Kevin Zeitler were talking for a long time along the sideline in the beginning of practice or right before practice started, and it felt like those two were chopping it up quite a bit. And at this point, right now they've got 3 former rivals from each AFC North team taking first team snaps. Andre Smith, a longtime Bengal. Kevin Zeitler was with the Browns for a good bit. And then Alejandro Villanueva, obviously, at right tackle. It does appear that the 4 centers are going to be Bozeman, Macari, Tristan, who is now just Cologne, no Castillo, disappointingly. Need that hyphen to get involved, have a successful season. And then finally, it is Greg Mentz. I can't remember his name, but number 62 off the top of my head. I don't have the roster in front of me, but those 4 were taking snaps at center, and Patrick Macari as well. Patrick Macari, that was the 4th, so there we go. And that was the ordeal there. Ben Cleveland getting some reps in there, obviously, but again, they're just going through the motions kind of. They don't have pads on, so nothing to write home about the offensive line. I don't have any thoughts. You don't have a perfect kind of perspective on them, especially when you're looking at them head on, can't quite see. It's a little difficult, but when they have pads on, there'll be more to report, and that'll be going through the preseason much more so when they're actually getting those live bullets. So nothing crazy about the offensive line, defensive line, anything like that. Javon Swan is a UDFA defensive tackle out of Arkansas, I believe. Might be mistaken. He was hustling between whistles every time the buzzer went off or an air horn rang. He was hustling to the next drill, trying to be that guy, the coach's buddy. So that was good to see. And I would say that Justin Matabuike looked extremely lean. Justin Matabuike looks like a mega sized outside linebacker, a little bit more so. He looks super lean. So I'm excited to see what he can do this offseason. I know a lot of people are ultimately, and that was a pretty big deal. And then obviously the one big downside, Nico Canalupo, was Bradley Bozeman was throwing some snaps around the yard a little bit. 2 of them went high. I only saw one of them. I think I was going back to go write a quick article on Lamar missing camp and testing positive for COVID. So I think I missed one of them, but I saw one went, sky high above Trace McSorley. I think he might have almost gotten a hand on it, but it was super high. So everybody's going to be, moaning and groaning about that. It's day one. Nothing crazy to take away from day one. I mean, even in camp in general, sometimes guys don't end up having the best camp, and then, they turn it on once the season starts. Lamar Jackson, not a famous practice god. So there's plenty of examples both ways. We go into the Jeremy Butler Memorial Studio, and we're at Jake's to record there. So it was quite an eventful day in many ways. Esmond Yamoa asks, through your perspective, who was the most impressive wide receiver at camp today? I heard it was Hollywood. Just wanted your perspective. Yeah, I'd definitely say Hollywood. He looked sharp. He looked ready. He was able to distinguish between when he had cushion and where he could get DBs flat-footed. Like I said, he had a nice toe tap on, I believe, a blaze out on, or actually, no, it was a speed out on Marcus Peters on the sideline, and I got a completion there. He had constant separation. He had 2 deep touchdowns that were, I think, 75 and like 55 yards. And there was also another one where he was wide open downfield and got missed. So it was a good deal that way. We got Mike B chiming in. I didn't get to see Harbaugh's comments yet, but apparently Harbaugh said that Bradley Bozeman took his glove off and it started to help. So like I said, day one, make what you want about Bradley Bozeman, throwing some snaps around. It's going to be a narrative, but give the guy a little bit of time. He's a natural center, so he'll get back to it. If they need to go tape on the hand, some guys need that. So it's all working out, that good stuff. Lamar Jackson looks like he's going to be missing 10 days here, I'm assuming. From the sound of what I've heard, it appears that wasn't vaccinated. So sounds like he's going to be out 10 days alongside Gus Edwards. So of the Ravens' 90% vaccination rate, we know that it is at least 90%. There's 90 players. That would say 81 players are vaccinated out of the 90 that they currently have. And that would mean that there are 7 players that are not Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards that don't have the vaccination. And maybe this is an encouragement to those remaining unvaccinated players to kind of go get it. And, would you rather get COVID or have the vaccination? I mean, for me, that's a pretty easy choice, but we're not going to get into all of that. Ultimately, quite an eventful day, like I said. A lot of people are saying, moaning and groaning. The receivers were what's going on with the DBs? Like I said, it's limited contact. It's really not supposed to be contact aside from trying to get the ball at the catch point. The linemen are kind of, putting their hands, but they're not trying to mess anybody up. You don't want anyone getting hurt. So they're taking it easy. There's some pass breakups, some things like that. Like I mentioned, Chris Westry had a nice day, in my opinion. Seemed to be wherever he was supposed to be and was able to carry some deep routes downfield a good bit. Didn't see a ton out of Ardarius Washington. Didn't quite see him popping or the ball thrown his way a ton. Nigel Warrior, none of those guys. I didn't see a ton. Geno Stone was super vocal, moving around there. And then I'd say J.K. Dobbins. I mean, J.K. Dobbins had a really strong day today as a pass catcher. A lot of swings, I saw him run a Texas route, I think in split field, 7-on-7s, an angle of Texas, whatever you want to call it. And he got some separation there. And then Trace McSorley was able to hit him about 20, 25 yards downfield on kind of a halfback seam where he kind of took off and just went straight upfield. So it was a pretty eventful day overall. Brandon Stevens, Mike B is asking here, Brandon Stevens, he got a good bit of run. He was moving around and he appeared to be in the right place, some tight coverage. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think preseason is going to be pivotal for him. So he seemed to be in the right place a lot of the time. Like I mentioned, Josh Oliver was able to kind of sky over him and make a play. I think that Stevens did have a pass breakup or two. So I wasn't able to catch every single snap of everything, but that is the long and short of what I saw there today. Odafe Away, he kind of looks like a FBS, like 2002 power forward. Very, very, very tall, lean, lanky guy, but he's got some muscle to him for sure. He was a large human being. And yeah, so it was an exciting day overall. We're getting to about 20 minutes here, and that was long and short of it. If anyone else has any other questions, I can answer those. I'll be trying to hop on and do these lives, recapping after practice. But the headline takeaways for me, again, Hollywood Brown, fantastic day. Trace McSorley, accurate throughout the entire day. The snaps were the only real downside offensively. J.K. Dobbins had a strong day. James Prochet had a couple really nice catches. Miles Boykin had a ball that was if Miles Boykin has to fully extend, it's not a perfectly Not a perfectly thrown ball. He was deep. He had a ton of separation and had to really try to lunge for the ball, and it went off of his fingertips. And the crowd kind of was like, oh, man, Boykin again. It was a really tough catch. If your 6'4" receiver is having to try to fingertip a ball, it was not a perfect pass. So I did have one go off, but made a couple catches later throughout drills and things of the sort. A lot of passing going on, not a ton of run game stuff. Usually in front of the crowds, we don't see a ton of run game install. But again, a lot of under center action. Like I said, Chris Westry stood out to me today. Devontae Harris did get smoked, I think, twice. Sean Wade did get smoked a couple times there. Devin Duvernay was cooking a little bit. Edmund Yamoa, who was lining up as the X. I mean, everybody's lining up as the X right now. They're rotating through. They're shuffling through. Like I mentioned, Devin Duvernay was taking some reps. Sammy Watkins was taking some reps. Rashad Bateman was taking some reps. Watkins and Bateman didn't really have big days necessarily, but there's no, disappointment there either. Bateman looks good. Keith Williams and T. Martin were, especially Keith Williams, was very detailed, very exuberant. When something was right, it was really right, and he was happy, and you could kind of hear it a little bit. When something was wrong, he was talking to a guy, giving him the little hand gestures. So he was coaching. They're out there. There's two guys working on that, T. Martin and Keith Williams. We heard Hollywood speak briefly about how his relationship with those guys and how they recruited him back in college and some things like that. So it was interesting. And then Nate McCrary also taking some reps there at running back. Abdi asks, so the Ravens need to sign a running back. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll bring in someone else. You want to give guys opportunities. You have to make sure you have enough guys at the right position. So if Edwards is out, you're going to see a lot of Chris West, or you're going to see a lot of Nate McCrary, Justice Hill, Tyson Williams, who I don't really recall seeing a ton today. I'm not sure if he was out there. I might be mistaken on that one. But I believe he was out there. I just didn't really see him in on a ton of action. So a running back wouldn't be shocking. Eli Wolf was moving around well. Tony Poljan looked the part, in my opinion. He's got a reputation as a good blocker, good red zone weapon type guy. But again, Josh Oliver was the tight end too. He was taking some reps in the slot. If there was 12 personnel with what looked like the starting offense, Josh Oliver was involved on it. So I think he's definitely someone to watch and might be someone that they want to keep, who I've mentioned before is probably being the most similar athletically and physically to Mark Andrews in this offense. But that is going to do it for me today. I'll be cooking up some articles and things in the coming days. I'll be trying to hop on YouTube daily here on the Baltimore Beatdown YouTube and give some updates, get some content out to you folks, and stay tuned on BaltimoreBeatdown.com, on the Baltimore Beatdown Twitter, on my Twitter at Ravens4Dummies. Kyle Barber, I believe, is BB_ Kyle Barber or Kyle P. Barber, something of the sort. You guys probably follow him, but stay tuned on all that good stuff. And we'll have some podcast episodes coming out. We should be having an interview with a capologist from a notable company, hopefully this Thursday, to talk Lamar Jackson extension, Mark Andrews extension, Deshaun Elliott, some other contract situations. So we'll be getting into that, and we'll definitely be having a ton of insight once the preseason gets going. Maybe we'll have a little tailgate situation. Get vaxxed, get waxed, stay healthy out there, folks. I will be at the game Saturday, so I'll be going to that. If anybody wants to meet up or whatever you want to do, give me a shout, holler at me on Twitter, and I will talk to you guys soon. Hope you have a great day, and make sure to follow, like, subscribe, whatever, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.